Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to discuss about the cloud. What is a cloud, why we require the cloud, and how the cloud works. And before discussing about what is a cloud, we need to know what exactly used to happen 10 years back so that we can get an idea like why the cloud is introduced uh, as of now. So before discussing about the cloud, we need to know what exactly are the reason we move or tend towards the cloud. Well, 10 years back, we had if we want to make any sort of website or any type of online presence, then the only way to do those all things is a website. So let's consider there is an online book selling website that someone wants to host around 1998 or the 1997. In such situation, what he has to do, he has to buy a on-premise server. This is an on-premise server. The blue color one what you are watching is an on-premise server. He buys that on-premise server from the providers like the IBM, or there are a lot of huge organization back then who used to provide on-premise server. Like, what is on-premise server? On-premise server is nothing but your computer only at a huge scale. You have your laptop, you have your CPU. In the same way, the on-premise server is something that provides the computational and the storage for your device. You want some computational thing like CPU or the GPU, and you want some storage like the RAM and for processing and for storing SSD. These all things are provided by the servers, on-premise servers that you buy from the IBM. And once you buy, as like when you buy your laptop, everything is provided by the like laptop providers only. If you're buying, then they will provide some operating system like the Windows. If you are buying the Mac, they will provide the Mac. If you are buying the Chromebook, they will provide the Chrome OS. Like that, every computer providers used to provide that. But the on-premise servers, because it is brought by the organization, it is always without the operating system. They will tell you to install your own operating system for your own purpose. Therefore, what we used to do, we used to buy the on-premise server onto which we used to install the operating system. Back then in the 1998, we used to install the Linux. Why? Because Windows is a graphical user interface. It is a GUI. Well, it has some CLI, but normally you don't use the GUI for building the application. It is only for those who don't know much about the computers. The GUI is only for those who don't know much about the computers, but the one who know, one is a computer engineer or one is a system engineer, he do know a lot of stuff about the operating system. Therefore, he don't use the GUI. So for that purpose, we are installing the Linux onto that. So we are building application. So let's consider we are using the React as a front end one, like the front end framework. We are using the React. So for the back end, we are using the Express and Node for ease of doing. Like the Express is a backend framework that used to accept the request and respond as according to that, and it will get the thing, and it will post, it will put, it will delete, it will do a lot of things. And at last we have the database. As we know, we are using the React and we are using other things. So for setting up the database, let's consider you are using the PostgreSQL, and you have made a proper idea of your organization, like what all things to be done. For the front end, we are using the React. For the back end, we are using Express and the Node. For the database, we are using the Postgre. So we are done with everything. So when you start your application, when you start your front end, normally it is hosted in the 8000 port. Let's consider we are dedicating the 8000 port in our machine. And for the back end, because it is running for the Express and those all things, it is running in the 5000 port. Means if you want to give any request, you can send request to 5000 port. It will give back you the response. And as like the database also, database has some server that is also running, that is running in the port 5482. So you have configured everything. So you have built everything, and you deployed your application onto Linux server. This is the Linux server, and we have on-premise server onto which we have installed the Linux, onto which we have deployed our front-end back-end database application. So what happens now? So if a outsider has to access my machine, my server, then he has to have my IP address, that is in a public manner. Like if he has my IP address and plus some security credential, then he can access. But for public one you don't need. For the private one you require the IP address plus some security credential. For public one you don't require. So my IP address is exposed to the internet. If someone want to access my application, my front end application, then he has to add my IP address and he has to add the port, 8000 port. So he is done, he can able to access my application. So a normal user doesn't know about IP things. Like he doesn't apply the IP address in the search bar and he will search. No, it is not going to happen in the search engine. He directly goes to www.google.com, www.amazon.com, www.microsoft.com. Like that, he want to visit my website. I will purchase some domain name. Let's consider, because I am selling the books, I will just say books.com. Okay, now I have books.com, and the books.com, I bought the domain name from the domain name service provider. So I have a domain name. Now I will associate my IP address with that domain name using some route table. This is too complicated stuff. Let's consider you have IP address that is associated with some domain name. So whenever some user put my domain name, then the domain name request goes to IP address. IP address will access the front end. Like this the work used to happen. Now user came, user just added my domain name, and domain name request goes to IP, and through IP it will goes to the front end. In the front end we have the application. Let's consider user is login. He just add his username and he had the password. So this request is sent to the backend saying that, see, user has added username and password. So let me tell okay, just provide me the user ID for this particular user. So what backend used to do, backend has some database queries. So what it does, it will select all those where username is equivalent to the username provided by the user, password is equivalent to the password provided by the user. When he does this, he will fetch the data from the database server that is situated in 5482 port. So he will send the response that request that I want this particular username and password, user ID that is situated with username and password. He will get back the response. He got the response, and backend will send that response to the front end and saying that user ID is available for this username and password. So give him access to the home page or the database. And things used to work like this 10 years back. Like you have your own on-premise server, Linux is installed on that, all your applications are deployed on that, you have some domain name, that domain name provider is providing, and using the IP address everything is working. So this is the thing that used to work previously. But the thing is that when your two of the application are using different version of the same language. For example, let's consider your first application is using Python 2, and all the modules what you have built are supporting only Python 2 only. In that particular application that you built first, it is only supporting Python 2, and you built another application that is supporting Python 3. Now there is a clash between two of the application, because the Python 3 or Python 2, these are installed globally in the operating system, not locally. Locally means you cannot install it in one folder and you can access it. You will always download the Python in an environment that is accessible throughout the operating system. Therefore when you install the Python 2, it is installed globally. Therefore your second app, the second app what you have built that is supporting Python 3 will not work, because it is not using Python 2, but your operating system is providing Python 2. If you upgrade it to Python 3, your previous application won't work. This is the thing for which the cloud is introduced. I will come to that. So you have two of the application, one is Python 2 and another one is Python 3. Both are clashing between each other because of the versions. So upon that, your first application is using only 5 GB of data, sorry, the storage, and second application is using 5 GB. Totally you are using 10 GB, but the on-premise server what you have brought, it is providing 200 GB of memory. So you are wasting 180 GB of memory because it is randomly accessing everything that is situated in the on-premise server, because of which your whole of the machine is burning whole of the storage, because it is not accessing in a proper manner, it is accessing randomly. And this is also a thing, storage is a thing, computational is a thing, and versions are different, therefore you cannot run your application. This is the first thing. So because of this reason, we are introduced with something called as a virtualization. So what is virtualization? See, previously we have bought some servers onto which we used to install the operating system and we used to deploy the application. But as you saw, if we have different versions of Python that are supporting different application, then it is not useful. For that purpose, we are introduced with the hypervisor, the virtualization. What virtualization used to do? It will divide all your hardware resources into chunks, and it will provide each chunk to each of the operating system by making a logical separation. What does that mean? Okay, you have on-premise server, you have two let's consider 50 GB of memory is provided by your servers. So you are using 50 GB, and you are dividing that 50 GB for 4 of the application. Therefore for each of the application it will make 25 GB, 25 GB, 25 GB, 25 GB. On 25 GB you install uh, your first operating system, let's consider it as Ubuntu. 25 GB you install the Debian. For the 25 GB you install the CentOS. For 25 GB you install the Unix. And on the each of the application you can run the Python 2 and Python 3, Java and Go. And because the first application is logically separated by the hypervisor, there is no connection between the first operating system and the second operating system. The first operating system is Ubuntu and second operating system is a Debian. Both are not connected with each other because of the hypervisor, because hypervisor has divided the 25 GB of memory to each of the operating system, and it is providing separately, and there is a logical separation between each of the virtual machine. Therefore it become a revolutionary thing. Many of the companies like VMware, they started providing these resources, like you have to install their software, and their software, what does that do? That will divide your resources into chunks, and it make a logical separation onto which you can install any of the operating system what you want, and you can run your application. This is the concept of virtualization or the hypervisor. So you have your 4 of the application onto which you can install anything. For the first application you have Python 2, Python 3 is installed in second operating system, and Java is installed on CentOS, Go is installed on Unix, and you can run your application as according to that, and there is no clash between anything, and you can do rest of things as according to your wish. And this is the concept of virtualization or the hypervisor. So how this thing is used in the cloud? See, there are huge companies, there are a lot of companies like the Amazon, the Google Cloud, the DigitalOcean, the Microsoft Azure, the Oracle Cloud, and the Alibaba Cloud. These all the companies are too huge. They have a lot of servers in their data centers. So let's consider we are using the AWS. What AWS does is, in India, in particularly Mumbai, in the coastline, they will create a huge data center that has thousands of on-premise server. They will install thousands of on-premise server over there, and they have a big data center that is being maintained over there. So what they do, they will tell to use these on-premise server and pay them. It is as simple as that. The cloud is a technology where big organization provide their compute resources over the internet, and you can use them, and you can go for the pay as go model, because when you buy the on-premise server, you already given a lot of money to buy those things. But when we are considering the cloud, you are only providing money for that which you are using. Therefore this is the first thing. So it has installed a lot of servers in the data center, and you are situated in Bengaluru. So from the Bengaluru, what you do, you request for one Ubuntu operating system, a virtual machine, to the AWS. What AWS does is that you requested Ubuntu machine to the AWS. AWS has a lot of servers, and all of those on-premise servers has a hypervisor installed on top of that. When you request a new operating system, the request goes over there, hypervisor automates a thing, and it will create a new virtual machine onto which it will install the Ubuntu. And what it does, it will provide a IP address to you with some security credential that is called as a PEM file. So when you want to use that machine in your local system, what you can do, you can just say, okay, this is the system, this is the one what I have to use. You just use SSH, the secure shell, to log in into that particular IP address using the PEM file, and your things are done. Now you can able to access Ubuntu system that is situated in Mumbai through your laptop that is situated in Bengaluru. It is very easy. It is very easy to use, and you don't need to add any of the hardware to your system. If your memory is full, you can directly ask for some system or some operating system to the Amazon, and you can access it and you can use it. It is as simple as that. And this become a too much success for the small startup and small organization, because they cannot afford to bring a huge on-premise server and run their application. It is too much costly for them, and maintaining server is not a joke. It requires a lot of things. Sometimes servers go down, and your application might be affected, your traffic goes down, it will impact your business. Therefore this become boon for a lot of companies. Therefore cloud become an impactful thing in this century. So what are the companies that are actually not using the cloud? The companies like VMware, the Dell, and we have the Google, Amazon. They are not using any on-premise server, sorry, the cloud. They have their own on-premise server onto which they are using, and this is termed as private cloud. What exactly is private cloud? In the private cloud, the companies like VMware who can afford to buy the on-premise server, they will buy a lot of on-premise server and they will install it somewhere in the remote area. Let's consider the VMware has installed a lot of on-premise server in a data center that is located in Rome. And there is some worker who is there is some employee who is working from New York or California. So he's just accessing the machines that are situated in the Rome using his IP address and PEM file that are particularly for that machine, or that machine that is situated in Rome. This is termed as a private cloud, and public doesn't have any access to this particular thing. Public cannot use these things. It is only for inside organization. Inside organization they could able to use these all things. A person or a employee who is sitting in the California can request some machine through the IP address and the PEM file that is situated in the Rome, and he can able to access it, and this is termed as a private cloud. Now what is a public cloud? Public cloud, what we are using as of today, the companies like the Google Cloud, AWS, or the Azure, DigitalOcean, they are providing their service over the internet, and you just need to have an account and a credit card or the debit card that is supported by this cloud to use those things. That is as simple as that. You need to have some credit card or the debit card, and you can apply those to buy some resources from these providers, and they will provide it. This is the public cloud, and this is as simple as that. This is a difference between a private cloud and public. Private only for the organization that is using these all things, like the VMware. They install their data centers in Rome, that is, and if you want any of the resources from there, you can access from California itself. You don't need to go in the room to access those things, and it is done via the internet. Therefore, it is termed as a private cloud. Public cloud, public can able to access it, and this is the difference between a private cloud and the public cloud. And as of now, AWS is trending because AWS is used by a lot of organization. They got first mover advantage, and they had done a lot in this area. They provide a 400 plus resources, and they have a lot of things to go for. And this is the complete introduction to the cloud, and we will come up with different tutorials. As of now, thank you for watching.